Alright guys, so section 2.6. I know, we were taking a long break, it's okay. So section 2.6, there isn't a lot new here. Hopefully it's not a challenging section. The homework is pretty short. There's maybe about 15 questions total. The main idea is trying to refresh in your head some basic formulas from geometry, some area and perimeter, straightforward shapes, and then practice plugging things into equations and solving for them. So I'm going to list the common formulas, and then we're going to just do some examples together. First going forward, so here's the length and the width of a rectangle, what's the area? And then going backwards, saying, here's the area of a circle, what's the radius? So first going forwards in the formulas, second going backwards, where I give you the final result and ask you what was the original thing you plugged in. So, 2.6, problem solving. In geometry, really, that just means area and perimeter. So, you've got the shape here, you've got the formula for the area, and the formula for perimeter. And I would say for perimeter, for all but a circle, just add up all the exterior sides. And I think that's a much more useful way to remember it. So rectangle, triangle, trapezoid, any shape. If you want to find the perimeter, you just add up the outside sides. For a circle that doesn't work because it's a curve, it's not a bunch of straight lines. So you actually do need a formula. I'll give that to you. But for all the others, that's good. Okay, so first is a square, which you don't even need to know, okay? Because a square is a rectangle. So if you have a square, each of the sides is s, the area is s squared, s times s, and the perimeter is 4s, okay? You don't even need that shape, okay? The reason you don't need that shape is, instead of a square, you could just call it a rectangle. Okay? A square is just a rectangle. Anytime you have 4 right angles, that's what makes a rectangle. Okay? For a rectangle, we have 2 dimensions. We have a length and a width. It doesn't matter which one's which. And for the area, you multiply that. Length times width. For the perimeter, if you want a formula, I'll give it to you. But again, I would just add up all the sides rather than adding any bit of memory. Okay? This is a really common formula that you'll need to know often. But you've already needed to know it in 2.5 multiple times. Okay? A triangle looks like this, where the height makes a right angle with the base. This is height, this is base, and the area is 1/2 base times height. The perimeter is, add up the exterior sides. We don't include the height when we add up all the exterior sides. Okay. On my original notes that I have online, I included trapezoid. I'm taking trapezoid out. It's just unnecessary practice. Okay, it's not going to come up all that often. The last shape that we'll do that will come up often is a circle. Okay, and the circle also has 2 different dimensions in a way. Really, you only need to know one but it's important to know both. Alright, so from the middle to the exterior of the circle is called the radius. And from one side through the center all the way to the other side is the diameter. And that is obviously equal to twice the radius. So diameter equals 2 times the radius. Okay. And then you have the equation for the area is pi r squared. And the equation for the circumference is 2 pi r, which is the same thing as, since 2 times radius is diameter. That's the same thing as pi diameter. And c stands for circumference. Which is the perimeter of the circle. Okay. We don't call it perimeter because perimeter specifically refers to polygons with straight lines as sides. Polygon means many sides. And so perimeter of any other shape is you add up all those straight lines. With a circle, since it's a curve, it does not have a perimeter. We have to have a new term, we call it circumference. But yeah, we just use these formulas. So I'll do some examples with you. Some examples, at first are going to be straightforward. It's going to say, here's the information you need, plug it in. And then later on, it's going to say, okay, here's the end result. Now solve for it and go back to the original. Okay. So, examples, we'll start with something like number 2, which gives you a rectangle. You know it's a rectangle because of the 4 right angles. And it gives you 4 feet by 3 feet and says find area and perimeter. So, how do we find the area and the perimeter?
It would be 3 times 4, 3
Yeah. So we got 3 times 4. Is that right? Or 12. I'm not going to be particular about units, however, the further you go in math, the further you go in science, units become more important. In this class, I'm not going to try and trick you by putting one thing in inches and one thing in feet. However, as you move forward, for sure in life, you will see different units, and you can't just compare the numbers. You have to take that magnitude into consideration. Okay, and then the perimeter is?
3, 4 plus 1.
Exactly. Remembering that you have to go all the way around. So common mistake is it is not P equals 3 plus 4 is 7 feet. And that's the common mistake. Right? You need to add in this side is 3 feet and this side is 4 feet. So as you go all the way around the shape, it's 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 is 14.
You could just do 2, 3 plus 2, 4, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's that formula I gave you is 2L plus 2W. Yeah, in general, I always just like to add up the side. I'm a careful guy. Alright. So then it'll give you, one like 4 really quick. It gives you a height of 33, a base of 30. It says what's the area. So how do we find the area of that? Yeah, for sure.
The base is a half,
Yeah,
30 times, is that 30?
yeah. Perfect. And again, you can use a calculator for this. I would do a half times 30 is, yeah, 15. And then I'd punch into my calculator 15 times 33, which is 10 times that was 104.95, I think. And it'll be in square meters. Okay. Again, the units aren't going to matter. Okay. So those ones are going to be straightforward. The first one's where they say, here are the dimensions, what is the area? Here are the dimensions, what is the perimeter? Okay. It gets harder when it says, here's the area, find the dimensions. So for example, number okay, so number 8. Alright, so number 8 says we've got rectangular swimming pool with width of 35. It doesn't matter which is 35, you can put width in either place. So it's got a width of 35 feet and an area of 2450 square feet. Okay, what is the pool's length? So how do we solve? Anytime now, when we ask you to go forward, we say plug things into the formula. The very next thing we do is we start at the end and say, okay, can you go backwards? Do you understand it enough to take it apart? That's how we do this.
A equals 35 minus, no, minus, down.
So what's the equation for area? Yeah, so it's, in general, A equals LW. So in this case, plugging in the numbers, 2450 is 35L. Yeah, and I know people in their heads could be like, skip all the steps, it's just this divided by this. And that works for rectangle. The point is, learn how to set it up right and follow those simple steps, even though it's 1 or 2 steps. Because as soon as it gets circles, it's harder to do in your head. As soon as it gets to complex word problem, it's much harder to do in your head. Right? So write the formula, substitute in the values you know the area, you know the width, and so the one step to solve it is? Yeah, divide by 35, divide by 35, and that's equal to something. L equals calculator. I think it's 70. Yeah, 7. Okay. Going on to another problem like 14, or let's go 16. This is circles, but just asking you to go straight forward, go forward. So it says the diameter here is 40. It says what's the area and what's the circumference. And this will lead to a short discussion. So yeah, what's the area, what's the circumference, how would we figure it out?
Area is pi r squared.
So area is pi r squared. And what's r?
The radius.
Yeah, so in this case?
20.
Yeah, so in this case, the radius is 20, so common mistake is just to do pi 40 squared, but you need to figure out the radius. So this would be area equals 400 pi. That's how I would leave your answer. We'll talk about why at the end of the question, but if you wanted to do what the book says, it says plug in 3.14 for pi, then round to the nearest answer, you would get that this is around 1256 or 1257, depending on whether you round it or not. Okay, we'll talk about why the difference between those answers. And then circumference is? Either,
2 pi r.
yeah, either 2 pi r or,
ID.
yeah, ID, whoops, I put it, yeah, there we go. So substituting in 20 for the radius, we could have 2 pi times 20, or we could have pi times diameter, which is 40. Either way, we get the circumference is 40 pi. And again, I would stop there. If you wanted to plug in a decimal, you could get that this is around 126. Okay. So, quick discussion. on the test, in my class, I would always prefer the exact answer. This is what's called an exact answer. This is an approximate answer. Okay, and this was something that was hard for me to understand in high school. I remember like my teachers always being like, we want exact answers versus approximate answers, and, you know, math and chemistry and all these different classes. And I remember being like, yeah, I know, I gave you an exact answer. I wrote like 8.172222165, and I wrote like 10 decimal places. That's super exact. Okay? That's not what they mean. Okay? What they mean when they say something like 2 pi is they mean pi is an irrational number. It has an infinite amount of decimals in it. So when I write 2 pi, I'm writing perfectly every single one of those infinite decimal places. I could punch this into a supercomputer and figure out 1 billion decimal places, 1 trillion decimal places, right? And that wouldn't even be a single fraction of how many there are, because it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. Anytime you write a decimal, you are stopping it after some number of humanly possible decimals to write on a piece of paper. So out of infinite number of decimals, you wrote 2. Out of an infinite number of decimal places, you maybe wrote 6. And you're like, I was so precise, I was so detailed. That's truncating off infinity. Okay, there's so much more information there, and this is this infinitely beautiful, perfect answer. And this is this rough, real world, just slicing off so much beautifulness. So I would always prefer this as an answer. It's less work. Okay, if you want to punch in 3.14 and give me an approximate answer, I will also accept that. However, you run the risk of rounding your answer wrong or truncating it, doing something like that, and I will take off points. If your answer is close but not right, I will take off points. But if you round correctly, it's fine. You can write it either way. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up. All right, let's do one last problem. So problem 18 is the circumference of a circle is 16 pi. Okay, circumference of a circle is 16 pi. And it says find R and find T. Okay, so if we know the circumference is 16 pi, how would we find the radius? How would we find the diameter? Well, let's write out the formula first. What's a formula? We can use either one.
C equals 2 pi r.
Yeah. So let's do not pi r squared, that's area. So it'd be 2 pi r. Okay, now let's plug in the values we have. What value do we have?
16.
Yeah, C is 16 pi. So 16 pi equals 2 pi r. So how do we solve for r? That'd be if it was r plus 2 pi. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So what is it?
Divide by 2 pi.
Yeah, it's times 2 pi, so we always do the inverse. This is r times 2 pi. So this is just like 5r equals 20. It's just the numbers look a little scarier, right? And that's a huge part of math, is seeing the exact same analogous situation without, you know, that panic button of there being 2 pi. So since it's multiplication, we divide. And regardless of what number, again, is being multiplied by r, fraction, pi, decimal, we divide by it. And that's it. Okay, cancel, cancel. We get r equals, and then we have to figure it out. We go, okay, well, the pi's cancel, and 16 divided by 2 is but it asks for 2 things. So what's the second half? D is, yeah, 16. Diameter is always twice as long, because radius is from the center out, diameter is all the way across. So it's double. Okay, and I'm not stressing about the units there. So that's 2.6. Smaller section to be sure than 2.7. Again, might result in about 5 points on the test, whereas 2.7 would result maybe more like 20 points on the test. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how many questions from each section I asked, but I think that's about the ratio. Okay, 2.7 being way more important. So why don't you work on 2.6 right now?